I now call this meeting of the Silver Falls School District Board of Directors to order. This is also serves as our budget hearing for the 2024-2025 budget. We are going to start by noting the attendance. Aaron is not with us, and the rest of us are here in person. We have a quorum, so that's good. We're going to work on the agenda review next. Does anybody have a motion?
Move that we approve the published agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the published agenda. Any discussion? All right, let's vote.
May I ask who seconded?
Phil?
Yeah.
Thank you. Josh,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
all in favor.
All right, thanks for that. I'm now going to open the budget hearing for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. We are going to move into the financial report. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joe and Kim for that part to see if they have any updates for us.
So perfect. Thank you, Chair Traeger. So tonight the financial report is limited to two items, two tasks at hand. We have both a supplemental budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year, that is this current fiscal year, as well as a budget adoption to discuss. You have resolutions as posted on Board Book. The first is the proposal of a resolution to adopt a supplemental budget for 2023-24. The purpose of a supplemental budget is to recognize the additional revenue received primarily through the tax anticipation note and includes appropriations for the associated expenditures within the general fund in the 1,000 function for additional instruction expenses, as well as in the 2,000 function for some support services. There is also some additional funding proposed in this supplemental budget in the 5,200 function to allow for budget authority for additional transfers to other funds that are going to need some additional subsidizing from the general fund. Additional revenues within our special revenue funds. These would be grants such as the student investment account, the early literacy grant, and high school success. Additional revenues were received in excess of what was budgeted, so we must present a supplemental budget to have the budget authority to spend those grant funds within the grant year for which they were awarded. Finally, there is also the need to recognize additional revenue for within our state school fund that is directed to our internal service funds. This is due to our charter school revenues from the state school fund being higher than anticipated. And so we also need the budget authority to be able to class those as expenditures in the form of the pass-through of those funds. Your resolution outlines all of that information per Oregon budget law. This was published in the Statesman Journal, form OR-ED-SBH, outlining the details of this supplemental budget. So I'll pause there for any questions about that process and about this unique situation that we're in this year.
Yes, I do. So Kim, I'm looking at the budget from our last budget committee meeting, and it's particularly with the TAN, and I'm just kind of curious why if we knew that we had to repay the TAN, then why didn't we have that? Why are the numbers different? I guess for particularly the TAN, that 3.8 mil.
So could I ask you to clarify when you're speaking of the budget document, are you referring to the one from 12 months ago?
No, the one
Okay.
for our one budget committee meeting
Great.
we had, a couple weeks ago.
Great. So what this first resolution we're looking at here is actually an amendment to the budget that ends in 2 days. We are needing to amend
Their old budget.
yes, because of the increased revenues, we did not have budget authority to spend beyond the appropriations that were approved a year ago, at the budget hearing a year ago. So this supplemental budget is a requirement of state law when expenditures are going to be in excess of 10% variance from the original appropriation approvals.
Now, was this the money that we were waiting on? Like this 501, 113, like these are in hundreds of thousands?
Yes,
This was the stuff we were waiting on?
it is not. We still have not seen the money we are waiting on. These are changes from what are called preliminary estimates that the state provides to districts to say, we anticipate for the 23-24 school year that your SIA funds are going to be, in this case, 2.8, about 2.9 million. They came in closer to 3.4. So these are due to grant funds coming in higher than the preliminary estimates that were available to us at the time that the 23-24 budget was proposed, approved, and adopted.
So basically, these are actually areas that we under budgeted on the revenue side.
Correct, and because they're grant funds to be spent within the
Right.
grant year,
Right.
we need the appropriation
can be
increase to
expended,
spend the
yeah.
increased revenue that was received.
So in this third paragraph, for these, that student investment account, early literacy, high school success grant, it's about 600, some, like $650,000. How is that gonna be spent in 2 days?
Those expenditures have been in place throughout the year, and those grants will be fully expended by June 30th.
This is just making it, dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
Having the authority to spend the money that we were provided.
Yeah,
Does
we're
this-
ratifying those actions.
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
And
And
then
it has
does
to be
this have
done
any-
before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay,
so.
does this have any effect on any of the RIFs that we've had?
It
So
does not.
This does not equal any callbacks or anything like that?
No, the numbers you're speaking about there in that paragraph are down in the table, the second table that says
Mhm.
funds 200, special revenue funds. Those funds are, being spent in full, and the reductions in force took into account these additional revenues that we were made aware of.
I got one more for you, Kim.
Great.
So going off total fund 100, the general fund, it says the original budget was, this was for last year, so this would be 23-24 or 22-23?
That was the original budget of $51,956,295.
Yeah.
That was the budget approved by the Budget Committee and adopted by the board for the 23-24 school year within the general fund.
Okay, so then when I see the number that was in our report budgeted, it shows $53,020,000. And I'm just curious, is this the actual on the budget? Or why is there like a big
Yep.
difference between those two numbers?
So that is going to be the budgeted contingency and unappropriated ending fund balances. So these are the expenditure areas. These, yes, you are correct that if we were to look at budgeted 23-24 for general fund entirely, it is
Oh.
going to include that
Okay.
1,038,000 off the top of my
But
head. I
not the
apologize.
rest of the categories that are included in the other one. I see what you're saying, okay.
I think, Kim, just one clarifying question. The 5,200 transfers, that's for other, you want to unpack that just a little bit for me?
Absolutely. As we've discussed, we have some other funds that have expenses in excess of their revenues. We have our food service fund is one of those that we anticipate. We have already done about a $200,000 transfer into that fund this 23-24 school year. We anticipate needing to do close to another $500,000 into that fund this year. We do not anticipate that $1.5 million needing to be transferred at all. We believe that $1 million that does not need to be utilized for transfers will be our projected ending fund balance, as I've been sharing, of $1 million. So it is best practice to assign it an appropriation level should there be a
need.
emergency or a
To spend
need.
it, yeah.
But essentially, of that 1.5 million, we do anticipate, per the June 10th financial report that I was showing you, we anticipate another $500,000 need in transfers. We anticipate the remaining $1 million to be our ending fund balance for 23-24.
Thank you for clarifying. I know that was an important piece that we've been working towards, so that helps, I think, clarify it for the public as they start looking at it, that, hey, this is where you can see that $1 million that we were shooting for on paper. So thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions or requests for clarification?
I guess one more for me. You say we still haven't been paid by the state, and our budget year is ending in a couple days. So how does that work if they're paying us after our budgeted year, and how does that get appropriated?
I think I know the answer to this. In the budget document, there's a phrase that says, well, I can't remember, but there's a phrase I read over and over again that kind of seemed like something got put into the wrong. They didn't give us the money in time, so we're going to spend it now. What was the word that I'm looking for?
There is something known as deferred revenue. However, that is when you receive revenue and in 1 year, and you want to defer the recording of it until later, or excuse me, deferred revenue is recording it now and receiving it later. In this case, what we're discussing with this grant is we will actually show a negative balance in that grant should the funds not be received by the close of what they call the EGM system, the electronic grant management system. We do work on a modified accrual basis, so if those funds happen to be released in EGMs before what they call the end of the fiscal year shutdown, we actually could receive revenue after June 30th that is booked as 23-24 revenue, as long as it is received before the shutdown of the state management grant system. We are holding our breath and would love to see that grant be released and be claimed as 23-24 revenue. If it is not, we will have a subset within our special revenue funds that will roll a significant hundreds of thousands of dollars negative balance.
And so how is that recorded?
It'd be a liability on the state side because it's their liability. They're supposed to pay it it's not a loan necessarily, it's a grant.
So we could record it as deferred revenue. We are absolutely certain it will be received at some point. That is what a deferred revenue record in the books is. The conservative approach to accounting is, to definitely be as conservative as possible. This is something that I will state that there's no question that will come. It's just when it will come. We will need to make a determination in the coming weeks if we want to record it as revenue in 23-24 or roll a negative balance on that grant and record 2 years of grant revenue in one fiscal year.
There you go. And I think I saw that kind of notation in the budget that we just adopted or we're looking at
There's actually
tonight.
a couple of grants. There's one fairly small one that is going to show about a $25,000 negative balance. This other one that we've discussed a number of times is closer to $350,000 to $400,000 that we're waiting on.
Got it.
For this year.
And those in turn then, if they came in 24-25 and couldn't get put on this year's books, would end up triggering a supplemental budget on those then, correct? for next year's
It
budget.
gets a little tricky. A supplemental budget is required when expenditures exceed appropriations, not when revenues
Oh,
exceed appropriations. So the expenditures were authorized this year despite revenues not being provided.
We just
So-
didn't have the
Yes.
funds. Got it.
Yes.
Here's an odd one for me, is the filing taxes. Like, we have to file taxes, right, with the state? We
actu-
don't?
We don't. As a government entity, there are no tax filings. We do our audit, but we are exempt from any kind of tax return itself.
Okay.
In a way, it skews your annual revenue. It's very difficult to then work on projections, because if you do have years that revenues cross that bridge, if you will, it can say, well, why were you low this year, then really high this year, and then you went back down? And timing of entries in your books can definitely cause that to be an issue.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Just stuff that makes your job easy, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you that in my other job, we also still have grants that are outstanding, and the end of the week is the end of the year for us, so we're still waiting on other grants. So this is not uncommon.
Mhm.
We've already been paying people, we have, things that we've been doing, and these do come, but there is sometimes a significant delay. So we just received our largest grant about a month ago. So for those of you playing along at home, it was the end of May or beginning of June. So, and we still have outstanding grants at the WESD. So this is not an uncommon thing, which is also why it's important to have
Contingency.
a fund balance of some kind, because you have to bridge the gap between when you think you're going to get them and when you actually get them.
Got it.
So.
Anything else before we move on to the next document? All right, so let's go on to, that was 4A. We're going to go on to 4B, adopting the budget for 24-25.
Perfect, thank you. So yes, now referring to next fiscal year, which of course kicks off for us on Monday of next week, you have a resolution for adopting the budget for the 2024-2025 school year. The proposed budget was presented to the Budget Committee on June 12th and was approved that same evening with no changes. This approved budget notice is called the OR-ED-1, was published in the Statesman Journal per Oregon budget law on June 21st. I do want to make a public announcement that there was a typographical error in the publication in the newspaper itself. The levy for the general obligation bond, the amount published was not correct. However, the amount approved in the resolution at the Budget Committee meeting, the amounts shown on all board book documents and the amounts shown here tonight are correct, but there was a typographical error in the Statesman Journal. We spoke with the Department of Revenue with the state of Oregon. This was their guidance to make sure that people are aware, if anybody had a magnifying glass powerful enough to see those numbers in that print ad, that there was a typographical error. However, the document provided to you here tonight, down at the bottom of the form that talks about the general obligation debt service levy of $4,576,740 is the correct levy amount and is the amount that was approved by the Budget Committee on June 12th.
All right, question, anything else besides that? Okay. Questions from board members?
So by what you said, contacted state, we're not in jeopardy because of that error.
Not
So-
at all, believe
so-
me, I
Sweated it.
was in absolute panic because of the timeline. A reprint would not have been possible
Right.
in the budget timeline required to have this meeting by June 30th. And yes, we had a bit of a holding our breath moment, but yes, Department of Revenue was very kind, got back to me very quickly and said,
Okay.
oh, no sweat, as long as they approved the right amount.
Oh.
Do the due diligence, let your taxpayers know that if you did observe that number in the very small 3-column by this entire document in a very small print ad, that there was a typographical error on that levy amount. And please consult all documents on board book as they are all correct.
Okay.
All right. So we have, I don't want to cut off any discussion, but it doesn't sound like anybody's chomping at the bit here. We have two possible resolution cheat sheets in front of us. So those are going to be important for later. Is there anything else we need to know to make it official on our motions besides these two that you gave us? This is all we need, yeah? Okay.
So there's, like you said, there was no changes to any of from what we had done with the budget committee, right? Like what we had approved there, everything's still the same, correct?
100%, yes.
And then for motion, the resolution A will be basically the modification we have to do for the supplemental budget
Mhm.
because of the increased income that we had, or revenue. So, makes sense to me.
All right. We are going to now move into the public comment period, and this is limited to the budget hearing. If you would like to speak during public comment and are attending virtually, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. If you're attending in person, please approach the public comment table. And I'll probably repeat those directions because I'm going to read our general statement. We're glad you're here and welcome you to address the board with your ideas, concerns, or compliments. Please keep the following in mind. Please, for the record, please provide your name in relationship to the district. Please keep individual remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have to go by that for this? I'm going to just be open on that. We're going to be open on time. There is no second public comment.
Not for the budget.
Yep. And I don't think anything else is applicable. We're modeling the way for our students and ask that you share your thoughts respectfully and in accordance with the Silver Falls School District Board Decorum Agreement. So we'll go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think you do have a second open public comment on bullet 8. Is that correct? Or for after?
Oh, yep, there you go.
So if somebody.
We do have a second public comment. Thank you.
This first part is
Just for the budget.
Just for the budget.
hearing.
Just for the budget. So we'll start with people in the room. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on the budget? Do we have anybody in virtual land that would like to comment on the budget?
There's nobody with a hand raised online.
Okay. Last chance. All right, we're gonna close that public comment session then and close the budget hearing. So now we're gonna move on to number 7, the superintendent update. Dr. Morlock, would you like to address the board?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. This one's going to be a little bit different than what I've been updating you with in the past. So first, I wanted to thank each member of the board for your hard work during this time. I know this has been a big surprise and a big set of challenges. I also know that some of you have been affected personally by this, and so I just want to honor and respect the work that you've done. And I want to thank you for the time, for the trust that you've put into me, trust you've placed in me in order to kind of get through this dark time. So I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank our licensed and classified associations for their collaboration in the RIF process, because that's really hard because they represent their members and at the same time they have to see the difficulty of what's happening. And so I just wanted to thank them for the extra meetings that we all had and finding time and figuring out how to schedule while they're still working and doing those things. So it was really good to have them at the table. Nobody wants to go through this process, but they were there to make sure we were clear in our understandings. And so I wanted to thank both of our associations for coming to the table to talk about things and making sure we were all clear about the process. I want to thank our former employees, the folks who are currently on the not yet placed list. I know that it's really hard to be in a limbo. We've had people change, people resign and go or make other choices, and we've been slowly pulling people back off of that list. As a reminder, that's 27 months that they're on a recall list, so they have rights to a position here if that were to open up in 27 months, so it's a little more than 2 years. I want to thank the Silver Falls School District staff at all levels, all schools, all buildings, all offices. You've all been incredibly gracious to me, which sometimes it probably seemed like I was a Grim Reaper or something, and that's a weird, sociological thing to deal with. But I do want to thank them. They've been very gracious and often thankful just for me being here to do that. So I wanted to thank them as well for their grace during this really hard time. I want to thank Kim Dowd, incredible human being who has stepped up into a position and learned it along the way and learned to do 40,000 things that she could not make a list of now, but that she did not know how to do probably 8 weeks ago because it wasn't her position to do. And to be in it and to be in it for the right reasons and to make hard choices and to have to say no a lot more than she's probably used to. She's awfully nice. Maybe I'm much less nice, but she's done an outstanding job of stepping into that position. So I want to just publicly thank her for the work that she has done, often with her hair on fire and trying to get this all done. Talking about the typo tonight, all the rest of the things. She really has done an outstanding job, and we're very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have gotten to work with her. I want to thank Debbie Valoff here, the unsung hero, for she has to corral a superintendent or two. Nobody who's not done her job, I'm going to use it like a triple negative. Nobody who's never done her job would ever understand what it's like to sort of be between your boss and then your boss's bosses, and then you're going to have a transition, every few years, and to kind of go through that and to keep things stable and have to learn a new boss's way and how they operate, and then running the board meetings and keeping everything. So I wanted to thank Debbie for keeping me organized and highlighting things and making sure I had what I needed from the very first day. Thank you. And then finally, I do want to thank the Silver Falls community for all of your support, for the support of the schools, the students. We had a lot of very passionate people come to talk about the things that were important to them. And I hope you all stay engaged when it's not a budget crisis, because your schools need you every day and every year, not just when things are maybe not as rosy. I ask that you stay involved. I ask that you support your staff members. They're going to be under a lot more stress this year. And you'll all have to kind of work together to get to that other better place, which will happen, and you'll get through those things, but it will require the support of the entire community, of all of our schools, from one end of the district to the other. And so support your staff, support your kids, figure out how you can help out and get involved, because we're going to need all the hours we can get. You will get through this. You will come back like these screaming Silverton Foxes and all the other mascots that I don't want to miss out on, that you're known for. You have a special place here, and you just need to continue to love it and protect it and guide it and try and just take care of it as the treasure that it is. So thanks for the opportunity and the challenge. It's been my honor to serve as your interim, and that's my report.
Well, obviously this is Joe's last official meeting with us, so I'm going to open it up to board members to have comments. But I wanted to start by also acknowledging. First, I was really happy to hear. The first I ever heard of this idea of Joe coming in and having this IGA was from Dan Bush. And then Owen, I think, was here at the district all day, the day that WESD came in. And so the idea just kind of started from there and coalesced, and just really very happy that we had this opportunity, grateful, I guess is the word, that we had this opportunity to bring Joe on board. And I've been thinking about extraordinary moments in your career. You've had some extraordinary moments. I wonder if you'll look back on this as one of those extraordinary moments. And I know that you've put extraordinary effort into this, and I appreciate the work that you've done to lead us. So thank you so much.
Yeah. It has been extraordinary, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Dan Bush for all the work that he did too while he was doing all the rest of the stuff and keeping it together. But this whole team of people, the few people you see at this table and a few others who aren't here, people came together and really worked hard. And there are thousands of unaccounted for hours and weekends and nights and midnights and all the way through. And it has been extraordinary, but we would not have gotten to where we are right now today without this incredibly hardworking team to do it. So yeah, it's been great, and it actually has been my honor. I've been, it's not the kind of thing you ever grow up and want to do, right? Oh, come on in and do this. But it certainly is the opportunity to try to keep people from losing their minds a little bit and say, we're gonna get through these things, and so it's been great. Not great. It's been no, it has been great actually. It's been really hard, but also a great opportunity for me. Yeah.
Fire at will, team.
Yeah, I'll go. I guess I'll put it. You came in and you did a great job of taking the emotional labor, really taking the arrows, the public anger, and allowed the people to do the hard work that had to be done. And that's exactly what was needed. And you did a great job of it. And I really appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
Just as you're speaking, I was reminded there's a quote at the MLK monument in DC, and it talks about like the measure of a person. And I pulled it up because I think it applies to you and Kim and Debbie as well. But it says, the ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. And, as we look over kind of the last couple months and several weeks together, I think that, like, you didn't have to, and you stepped into chaos and provided a level of calm. And so, I'm very grateful for that. I know the district's very grateful, but I think it really speaks to your character. And, so thank you.
Thank you very much. That's nice.
So I guess we'll go down the line. There's your whole list of who you thanked. I think you nailed it. I'd also like to thank Kevin Palmer for helping out too. We kind of threw him into a very awkward and difficult position that had never been created before, and I'm really grateful for his leadership in helping as well. I want to make it clear that what just happened is not normal. We had a lot of free services that usually never happen, particularly when it comes to legal stuff. People just don't give that away for free. And we had a lot of help through WESD, through COSA. Is it OASBO or ASBO? I mean, I don't think we could have made it without it, personally. And so I'm eternally grateful for all those organizations that came in and helped, for the community members that are continuing to help, serve lunches at the park or donate money wherever they can. Just goes to how appreciative I'm of the community. And, I don't want to be like super optimistic because I know next year's going to be very difficult. I know that it's going to be different, but I think we're going to be okay. Just like you said, I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
But it's going to be different. Oh, and just, you did awesome.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a huge team.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Joe, just so impressive how you were able to come in, and I mentioned provided stability in the middle of chaos, and it really felt that way. I know as a board member it felt that way, that we actually had a rudder and it was being used, and that felt good, even though our situation felt bad. But you helped with that, and it was I just felt an unbelievably positive job. I know I sat in on one of the meetings there that you had with the day you had it with the unions and the personnel, and that was a tough one for them, and it was a tough one for you. I mean, you just been literally thrown into the fire at that time, and yet you took the time to what you could in that time to get to know them as a group, as individuals, and that was so key, I think, to any of this working, was just everybody in all parts of this operation, community and everything, that humanity feeling, and that we are all in this together, and that we all are going to suffer in our own way, some pocketbook, some emotion, whatever, but everybody was going to feel it one way or another. And that totally impressed me, how you were able to bring those groups together and work with them so concisely and everything. So I want to applaud you on a job well done. And you ever need a reference from us, we probably couldn't find a way to make it short enough to be that.
Thanks, Phil.
I just think back to when you were first coming on board, we were discussing the idea, and when your house is in disorder, it's frightening to invite an outsider in, and especially to give up the reins. And from the very start, you have been completely competent as a leader, and not only that, just equally as important. I think back to, we were thinking about how many days you'd be in the office and whether or not you would put in a full effort, and you far exceeded any of our expectations, or even our wishes. And I thank you for both counts. It's been a pleasure to get to know you.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Okay, let's move on then to this. There's something else. My computer went off, though. There was another update. Oh,
It's a short update on the community
Yes.
eligibility
Yes.
provision. So as you recall, the numbers have changed. The state has come down to where the national number is as far as percentage goes. So we do qualify. We're still researching whether or not that's going to make financial sense. We do not have to make that decision until the beginning of the school year, so there is some time. So frankly, we've been working on the Sodexo contract to make sure that was all ready to go. And then the next part of that is to figure out whether the CEP, which would essentially provide free meals for all students across the district, but we have to do we being this person to my left here, Kim, but we're still working on the financial part of it to make sure that we're not going to lose money on the meals more than what we would normally, that it would normally cost us. So there's still some work to do on that, because it's not that you can lose money and make up for it in volume, because that still doesn't work, but we do have to figure out if there's enough that comes in that then pays for it. So that is still under process, but I wanted to give you that update that we haven't forgotten about it. But that next step after we got the final on the contract from Sodexo, then the next part of it forward, but we are not late on it, so we don't have to actually get that underway, and we have to apply for it until the beginning of the school year. So there's a little bit of time for one of your summer meetings to have to approve something if you're going to do that.
I guess I just have a general question about lunches. Is there any district that operates in the black without subsidizing their school lunch programs somehow, one way or the other?
Yes,
Okay.
there are many.
We've been
Okay.
meeting with other districts over the last
Okay.
few weeks and months, and it is more common than not to
Okay.
be in the black. Great resources, as you were just talking about, how the community, the industry comes together. That is exactly what we're leaning on, is other districts to identify what works for you. We have a very unique geographical system here, so that will remain, a uniqueness to Silver Falls, but feeling very
We think there's an
optimistic.
opportunity, yes.
Okay.
And part of that's just about a full review. You get into a place and you've done it, and part of it is also about what's the amount of money you need to budget for it to operate it, and then what's the revenue coming in. That's why we're being very cautious with the CEP, because yes, I think it's good to feed every child, and we have to make sure that that's not going to cost us more, because the students who are on free and reduced lunch now will continue in free and reduced lunch. It's really around, if you're in the go to the CEP, then everybody gets a lunch, but there's a reimbursement rate, so you have to look at those two differentials. But in terms of directly to your question, yes, many of them do, and so that's part of the work, I think, for my replacement. So we'll let her do that.
And I think that's one thing that's valued, what Kim just mentioned, is if you're gonna look for a silver lining out of all this, is we've been forced to rely on others for help and stuff. And I think, who knows, maybe a piece that got there for us was trying to be too self-reliant, and not a willingness to see if there's another way to skin a cat. you know, and to look at it. And so it's gotten us to do that. And I think that's a plus side, because there's, you know, why go and invent something that somebody else already has if they've done it out there? So.
Right, right.
It's interesting you bring that up, Phil, because what comes to mind is, for some reason in my head, even to this day, I think of other high schools as competition rather than colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
Until I went and played football, and then next thing you know, you're playing next to the guys you used to so-called hate. And realize you're just all on the same team in some form.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all want to do well for kids.
Yeah.
And we want to do well for the kids in our district, but
Mhm.
we care about kids in general.
And just reaching out to
Yeah.
those, and yeah. Great thoughts, Bill.
Any other comments about the CEP? I'm assuming that this is going to be a priority over the summer, because we're going to need to tell parents yay or nay. Or could it change midway through?
We would love, we're already at the end of June, to commit to a July meeting announcement would be probably a little premature, but we will this is top priority now that the contract is being finalized, and this is absolutely top priority, so,
Got it.
amongst all the other top priorities.
She doesn't actually have a checklist that goes from top to bottom. She has a checklist that just goes left to right, and then everything's at the top of the list. That way,
Wraps
so,
around.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're at our second public comment period, which is specific to discussion and action items. If you'd like to speak during public comment and are attending virtually, use the raise hand feature on Zoom. If you're attending in person, please approach the public comment table located in front of the board. Is there anybody in the room who would like to address the board? When she starts, we'll do that. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us your relationship to the district and the topic that you're going to be speaking on?
Yes. My name is Heather Way, and I am a parent and a community member. And I am just here to say thank you. I want to make it known that I wrote this a number of weeks ago, before the decision about schools was made, and I'm an evergreen parent. And I just feel deeply about our community and our district, no matter which direction we had gone, though I am very happy that our schools are open. I just wanted to let you know that these meetings the last few weeks have restored my hope in the democratic process. They have enlightened me and frustrated me, but they have made me extremely proud to be a member of the Silverton community. My 8-year-old son has enjoyed coming to these meetings, and it has been a lot of discussions in our home about what this process is and why it works. And that was a hopeful comment in the beginning, and it has been wonderful to be able to continue to say, look, this works, the process works. I came here to say that the reason it works and the reason it matters is because of you board members. As a community of Silverton, myself included, we voted you into these roles, which are a volunteer. Roles that each of you have offered to do in addition to your jobs and your families, but in the last month, they have become second jobs. I'm sure more than we will even know and understand. And I have watched you at all of these meetings sit up there, and you have taken an immense amount of bullets. And you have done it professionally and humbly and calmly. And one of the first meetings I came to, a parent next to me said, I hope this is going to be okay, that our children are with us. It was hopeful that it was going to go okay, and it has. That reminder that you've given to the public, Jennifer, please, we're demonstrating this to our children. And as board members, you have demonstrated to our children this is how you receive criticism, and you did it well. There have been many moments where it would have been completely justifiable for each one of you to have lost your cool and thrown in the towel, but you have continued on, devoted to seeing your position through and committed to the restoration of not only our broken district, but to also the division that is bubbling up behind it. And I just want to say thank you for your service and for volunteering to do this job. You are bearing a burden, and I am sure there have been sleepless nights and countless interrupted time with your families and missed dinners and things that we will never know. And thank you for that. This might not be a popular opinion, but it is my opinion that each of you deserve a job well done. School board members are an overlooked, probably the most overlooked members in the civil servant sector in America right now. And it's what I see in each of you as servants. I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and the Silverton community for the job that you are giving and that you're going to continue to give this year.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too kind, Heather, thank you.
Is there anybody online?
Yes, we have Lynette C. So if Daniel, if you could promote Lynette. And Lynette, I think you're muted.
Still muted.
Lynette, can you,
Let's see if Daniel, can you move to try to unmute? There we go.
There.
All right. We can't hear you. Can you hear us?
I need help with the timer. I don't know how to reset it. Lynette, oh, it still shows that you're muted. There we go. I think we can hear you now, Lynette. So hi, can you hear us?
Oh, no, we're not hearing her.
Okay. So Lynette, you can't hear us at all? Nope, doesn't look like it. I'm not sure what we should do here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, she can't hear us, so I don't know what to, how to communicate with her. So Lynette, or somebody who can communicate with Lynette, our tech person says that everything is good on our end. We think that it's something on your end. I'm gonna open up public comment for people in the room again, and maybe we can see if we can get that resolved. Is there anybody else in the room who would like to speak? I really hate to cut off the public comment when we have somebody who still would like to speak.
If we just wait a moment, let's see if she logs. She just logged off.
Okay.
So let's see if she's going to do a quick one. So just maybe
Yeah.
a minute here. She may log back on.
So if you can set it down and then bring it up, same thing, if you bring it down and bring it back up, it resets.
Well, it's not resetting though, see? Like, I need to go
So I
to,
jumped to 5, watch.
and then go back to,
Yep, and then go to 3.
there, that's the
Yeah.
side to side.
Okay.
All right, so when Lynette comes back.
All right. So Daniel, let's see if we can promote Lynette again.
Give a 30-second warning.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you
Yeah.
hear us?
You hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear anything.
Can you type?
Give her a thumbs up that we can hear her.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
We can hear
We
you.
can hear
We
you.
can hear you, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, can we text her through Zoom? and see?
I'm sorry, I will send an email.
No.
You,
Lynette,
you,
I
you
can
can
hear
talk.
you. Yeah.
You can talk.
You, Lynette, talk.
We're ready.
I wish somebody could text her say, hey, we can
Where's the
hear.
camera at?
Yeah.
Can we just write her a note, say we
Yeah.
hear?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
There should be, can Daniel send her a,
Oh, well.
Well, you can send an email.
All right, well, that's unfortunate. We will move on to the action items.
Is it okay if she pops up at the end and?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we'll spot
but we,
for the-
we will have already made the point of this public comment
Oh.
time
Is for the
is to
action
give
items.
input based on the
On
action
action
items,
items.
Yes.
because we've had the discussion, but,
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
Oh, I
yeah.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, but we can, yes, so the answer is yes, and it doesn't necessarily have the same
Yeah.
effect.
Correct.
Okay, so, let's go ahead and move then to action items. We have 9A, which is the supplemental budget. Is there, a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion here. I hereby make a motion to approve resolution number 6-26-2024-A to adopt the supplemental budget as presented and authorize appropriations for the 2023-24 fiscal year.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 626-2024A to adopt the supplemental budget as presented and authorize appropriations for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Is there any discussion? All right, thank you for all the work that you put into that, Kim. Debbie, let's vote.
Josh,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Derek,
yes.
all in favor.
All right, and now we're at action item B, which is the 2024-2025 budget.
Yeah, I can make that motion. I hereby make a motion to approve resolution 6-26-2024-B to adopt the approved budget, make appropriations, and impose and categorize property taxes for the 2024 through 25 fiscal year.
Second?
All right, it's been moved to approve Resolution 626-2024-B to adopt the approved budget, make appropriations, and impose and categorize property taxes for the 2024 through 2025 fiscal year. Is there any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote.
Josh,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
all in favor.
And just last check, did Lynette, she got her hand raised?
She doesn't have her hand raised, but she is back in the attendees.
Lynette, if you want to raise your hand, and we'll give it one last try before we
Okay,
adjourn.
she's raised her hand, so
Okay.
Daniel, one more round.
Third time's the charm, feeling
Yep.
positive.
Oh, I should have just said, go ahead and give us your comment.
Thank you.
Okay, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. this
Okay.
time.
We hear you, all right.
I know. Whew. That was weird. As soon as I switched over, everything was gone. So,
Okay, so Lynette, can you identify yourself and explain your relationship with the district and tell us the topic that you're going to be speaking on?
yeah. My name is Lynette Cortez, and I was a parent first and then a volunteer, and I teach at Butte Creek School now.
And Lynette, are you speaking on your behalf or on behalf of a group tonight?
I'm speaking for myself, and it's just a general comment about
Okay,
the last board meeting.
okay.
So as I watched the public comments made by many FFA supporters during the June 10th board meeting, I had a lot of emotions. And each of these students and adults spoke impressively with passion and clarity in support of the program that is significant to many. And as a longtime Silverton resident, I'm also proud of the program, just as I'm proud of many of the programs that our district has. As I was watching, I couldn't help but wonder which groups were not being represented and which groups weren't being heard. And so I knew I needed to speak up for the program that and the students that I work for and with. I'm privileged to work at Butte Creek School as an ELD teacher. Since Butte Creek School is a K-8 school, none of my students are able to drive. So they wouldn't be able to get themselves to a board meeting so that they could speak. Many of my students speak languages besides English in their home, and many of their parents don't speak any English. So if they came to this meeting, they wouldn't be able to understand. Additionally, and unfortunately, a large percentage of my students' parents have very low literacy levels, and they wouldn't be able to read any notice of how to make public comment or how to write a comment to share in a program that is significant to them, such as ELD or Title I services. I want to acknowledge that every building and every program in this district has suffered deep and difficult cuts. Butte Creek has lost roughly 25% of our staff, with very few of the positions being replaced. Our Title I teacher and the assistant were cut, and those services are being braided with ELD, largely limiting the number of students we will be able to provide language and literacy services to. It is arguable that language and literacy education are imperative to the youngest children in our district. And I just wanted to speak to that. You know, I'm hoping that as they get these services, you know, someday they have the opportunity to join FFA and do the amazing things that these other students are doing. And I know that we are in the position that we're in, and I know that we are going to get better, but I just wanted to speak to, just as they are passionate about FFA, I am passionate about what I do, and I care about these students and the services, and I wanted to bring a voice for them. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
perseverance, Lynette.
He was right on time.
Okay.
And thank you.
All right, is there anything for the good of the order before we adjourn?
Just kind of seems strange. This is probably the last time I'll
Yeah.
see him for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, sitting at this table, yes, but I might come out here and
You're
in public comment.
I'm thinking, but you're welcome anytime, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
We do
Yep.
appreciate you, Joe.
Hoping
Yeah.
we do run into you.
Oh, I'm
in
sure you will.
Better circumstances.
All right, everybody, meeting adjourned.